Good afternoon. Welcome to the keynote. For those of you that were here this morning, Brad Souza, our CTO, kicked off this morning's festivities with a very compelling UC presentation, and I'm going to try and keep the momentum going now, but around a couple of things that are within my practice. So the title is Data, Data, and More Data. I'll look down the rabbit hole. And what I'm referring to is all of the information and data that we collect, what organizations gather day to day. Some of it you're aware of, some of it you're not. You think about all the surveys that are sent out. Companies want to know, did you enjoy your stay at the hotel? How was your flight? How was your dinner last night? How are those shoes that you purchased? They're gathering this information because they want to know how your experience was. And if they need to make improvements, then they work on that based on these surveys, so it helps them out. And we also gathered information to improve operational efficiencies at the same time. So companies are looking at what are we really good at, what are we not really good at? What can we change to make the experience better for our customers? So I picked 3 topics that we're going to talk about, and for each of them we're going to look at the how and the why. And the how is the technology that is currently available, and this is the infrastructure that we use to gather this information, and the why is the business reason. So in order to do this and justify it, we have to have a business reason to do this. So we're going to start with topic number 1, shopping. Shopping is something that we all do. We do it all the time. We have to, all right? We have to buy lunch, we have to buy clothing, we have to buy things for the house, and the experience that we have determines where we go back to. If I find a store that I need to buy something that can take care of my need and I am comfortable with that experience, I'm going to continue going there. So I'm going to start with something that's near and dear to my heart, food. So for those of there's laughter already. For those of you who know me, I'm a little selective when it comes to food. Particular, or I would say experienced. So there's a Thai food restaurant by my house, and I frequent this place on days when it's really busy and whatever I thought we were going to have for dinner is just not going to happen. And this is a real simple example, but let me kind of walk you through the experience. So I get to the point in the day and I realize I need to bail my wife out and I'm just going to call in dinner. So I call them up, they ask for my phone number, and then they immediately say, hey Craig, how you doing? Would you like to start with the regular? Pad Thai chicken, red curry chicken, and a hot and sour soup? Yeah, that's perfect. Why don't we do that? And they give me my title, and in 20 minutes I can go pick it up. And really, what do they have about me at that point? All they know is they know my name and they know my order history. But just by having that little information, they spin it in a way that makes my experience easy to me. And along with providing me good food, 2 years later, I'm still going back to this place and giving them my business. So a little bit of information that's collected changes the shopping experience for me. So let's step that up to the next level and let's talk about retail. If you're my age, you know who Jeffrey is. You probably grew up with your mother taking you to the store that was just amazing. It was the coolest castle on the planet. I couldn't wait to go. For me, it was a fantastic experience because I knew when I walked in, there were just going to be walls of toys as higher than I could even touch, and everything that I could dream of was going to be in this store. So for me, as a child, this was a fantastic experience. And back in the day, it worked for my mother as well. We didn't have a problem. This is where we went toy shopping, and I begged and pleaded for whatever I thought I could talk my mom into buying me that day. Whatever I saw on the shelf, I cried until I got something at least, and that's usually how it worked. And it was really good, but today, we shop a little bit differently. Our expectations are different. So Toys R Us has a little problem right now. When you walk in that store, it's really hard to find product information. And some of you know, when you walk in, you realize you see people on their phone while they're in a store looking for information about a product while they're in a store trying to find that product on the shelf. They may be looking for a comparative product. They might want to see what pricing is online compared to the store that they're in. And in a store with, let's just take Toys R Us for an example, if there's a particular toy and I can't find it, but I see it online, that causes a problem. It's not a really good experience while I'm at the store. I get frustrated, I end up leaving, and I want to go somewhere else to get that product. Or if I want to compare 2 products, there's really no easy way to do it inside of an environment like Toys R Us. So the challenge they have right now is the next generation buyer really isn't into that. So unfortunately, kids today may not know who Jeffrey is, but they're probably going to know what Amazon is. And the reason being, web analytics have revolutionized the online shopping experience. You can go somewhere, it's going to pay attention to what you looked at, It's going to store that information in a shopping cart. It's going to make it really easy for you to compare pricing, features, other online offers based around what that particular product might be and other things that they think you're interested in. It's going to make it extremely convenient. And I'm sure we've all used it. I do. I have a couple of minutes at night and I'm thinking, okay, well, I need new tires for my mountain bike. I'm just going to jump on and take a look at what's available. And I don't have time to finish that transaction, but anything that I do is stored. And magically, the next day when I log onto my computer, you're never going to believe this, but the tires I was looking at are on sale. And all I have to do is click that button. Somehow, my computer knows what I'm looking at, stores that information, and uses it in a fashion that they try to enhance my experience. So Amazon is doing fantastic and unfortunately probably brooming Toys R Us right out of business, but that's the experience we've come to expect. So the good news is technology has advanced to the point now where retailers are again able to personalize the shopping experience, much like what we get with an online store. And for those of you who are lucky enough to travel, that's the Minneapolis airport. And why did I pick an airport? Because you think about the size of an airport, they have become some of the largest retail locations we have. This is big, big business inside of an airport. Think of all the tens of thousands of people that pass through every single day, a lot of them with time to kill. Because as soon as you get that text from Delta saying, yeah, it's raining somewhere, so your flight's gonna be about an hour late, hope you don't mind sitting there, now you got an hour to kill. And if they're shopping all around, rather than sitting in the uncomfortable chair watching the people around you, you typically get up and you walk around. This is what happens. So non-aviation revenue inside of an airport is huge right now. And there's more and more technology going into these spaces to help expand and enhance the experience. So let's take a look at what that is. So there's technology in a store that you may not be aware of right now. For example, a people counter on the outside. Let's take an airport just as an example. We can use a beacon to determine how many people walk by in front of a store, and we can also count how many walk into a store. So now we've got a percentage. All right, how many people are we grabbing? Are we grabbing 10% of the people that walk by? Are we grabbing 1%? What can we do to change those metrics from the amount of people walking by to the amount of people walking in? Then once they walk in, what if we were able to track where they went in the store? Well, that's a heat map, and I'll show you the technology behind how that works as well. And then there's also dwell time, so we can actually record how much time is spent in particular areas of the store, and this allows us to determine what areas are really set up effective and efficiently. So we might build this fantastic kiosk and think it's great and everybody's going to love it, but when we actually look at the metrics, we find out that nobody spent any time there. But the other counter that we had over here seems to be where all the traffic is. So this information is very, very valuable from a retail perspective. Let's take a look at how they actually get that information. Well, the first thing we know is mobile use continues to grow. Everybody has a phone. I mean, I would guess every person from 12 years old and up is typically carrying a phone with them. And there's two things on a phone that help people track what you're doing and how you're walking around a store. One is Wi-Fi and two is Bluetooth. So Bluetooth is simple. It just simply emits a signal, and we could put beacons in different locations to actually pick up Bluetooth-enabled devices. Now, we may not know who you are, but we simply know that there's a device that walks by, and I guess we could assume it's probably a human that went by with their phone on. Wi-Fi works much the same way. So even if you're not connected to a house Wi-Fi, your phone is still sending out a ping looking for available hotspots, which is why when you jump on, a lot of times there's already a list there just saying, hey, by the way, these are all the hotspots that we see here. So in a store, the store can actually put multiple Wi-Fi hotspots in there, and they can track and triangulate your path through the store. And this helps them determine, again, over on the right, you'll see a heat map. Where did the people walk? Where did they hang out? How much time did they spend there? And why do we want to do this? Because again, we're trying to improve the experience. We want to know how many visitors came in. How many new visitors do we have? Now, how do we determine that? Well, easy. Your phone has a MAC address on it. So there's a unique identifier every time you walk in that store. And if you sign up for a loyalty program or you hop onto their Wi-Fi, now you've basically told them who you are. So when I walk in, if there's somewhere where I have a loyalty program, they know I'm there. And don't be surprised if you get like an SMS or a push message sent to your phone, because they're saying, oh, Craig's here. Well, Craig's looking at shoes last night online. We tracked it in our system. Maybe we can send a coupon to him and entice him to buy this. You're going to see more and more of this coming out. We were at a trade show a couple of weeks ago in Las Vegas, and several of us bought the monorail pass to take us back and forth from the convention. And every time we went to a hotel that had a monorail stop, Eric, one of our AVI employees, would get a push message. Hey, don't forget to take the monorail, just as a reminder, because they knew that he was there because he had installed the app, it had the pass, and everywhere they had a stop that he was connected or the Wi-Fi saw his MAC address, sent him a push message to let him know that there was a monorail stop there and he should think about taking it. Returning visitors, they want to know how many people have come back to the store. Is this your first trip or are you a frequent visitor? How long did you stay? And we can also use this with point of sale data to determine what ads were actually effective in a retail space. So looking on the left, you'll see signage there. What we can do from the signage side of it is actually kind of scary. So there's facial recognition now available, and I've seen this work recently where we can put a camera above a digital display and it can determine what group of individuals are standing in front of this. So are they young children? Is it middle age? Is it male? Is it female? Are they happy? Are they sad? And we can actually change the content that's displayed on there by using that camera to determine who we think is the target audience in front of it, and then change the content relative to that group. Interesting. Scary? Not so bad. Again, they're really trying to do it to better your experience. It doesn't necessarily know who you are, but it thinks who you are and it targets the content around who it believes that you actually are. It's a level of personalization that directly relates to the infrastructure that's in there. So the next time you walk into a store and you see, whoa, suits are on sale today, it's like they know that I'm here. That information is possible. They might actually know that you're there. All right, topic number 2. Let's move on to video streaming. This is clearly caught on. It's not going anywhere. So if you recognize these 3 names, you realize that these players are doing serious business. Netflix right now is one of the largest as far as video streaming and their consistent increase in subscription companies. They are a force to be reckoned with. And they're also getting into original content, which is different because previously it was just simply replaying other videos. Now they've realized, wow, we can monetize our own shows and get even more viewers and more subscribers. Somebody take a guess on what the annual budget is this year for Netflix original content. How much is Netflix going to spend on original content in 2018? Who wants to guess? How much? 2 million? 1 billion? Pretty good. Higher. Exactly. Keep going. Any other? $8 billion. Exactly. That's exactly what I said. Netflix in 2018 is going to spend $8 billion on original programming. They are far and away the largest. And you can barely read this. CBS, which is free to air, is half that. 4.3 billion. That's their annual budget this year for original content. Amazon and Netflix right now both have over 125 million monthly subscribers. So that 15 to 20 bucks a month that you're spending, times that by 125 million each, that's where they're coming up with $8 billion for original content. Staggering numbers. The other interesting part too, Apple and Facebook both have $1 billion set aside for original content. They don't even have shows, do they? Isn't it just little videos where they get a personality to come on and say, hey, look, Facebook video, this is great, check it out. They've got $1 billion this year earmarked for people to promote Facebook video without even long-form programming. Those are short bits. Another interesting statistic, in the US, 72% of internet subscribers also pay for a software video on demand. So whether it's Hulu, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Netflix, 72% of us pay for that. I do. I hardly use it, but we have it, and there's a bunch of people in my house who love Netflix, and I don't think I'd ever talk anybody out of that 15 bucks a month or whatever it is we spend. And it's only growing. So how does this relate to the corporate side? Well, we really want to take the same metrics that Netflix is using to determine their experience and make it better for you. We want the same thing from our enterprise video platforms. We want to know, when we create videos, how many people watched this? What was their completion rate? Did they watch it all the way to the end, or did they get 10 seconds into it and say, I've had enough of this and walk away? What was the average viewing time, and what device did they watch it on? If we're spending money to create videos, and there's training videos, and there's marketing videos, and there's sales-related videos, and there's public-facing videos, we really want to see, are we getting our money out of this? Or are we just creating these videos and no one's watching them? So the metrics that we have here are very important. And your platform can provide these to you and basically justify the amount of money that you're spending on content. And here's an interesting statistic for the public-facing videos. Talk about engagement. 80% of online visitors will watch a video, whereas 20% of online visitors will actually read all the text you put on your page. Telling. So all that time you spend building these lengthy web pages, don't bother. Nobody reads that stuff. But if you put a video on top, they're going to watch it. And as far as the sales side of it, web visitors are 64% more likely to buy a product after watching a video. So from an EVP platform, what we need to remember is that there's a lot of differences as we choose what we're going to put into our organization, and free a lot of times actually has a cost associated with it. If we put a platform in that delivers to our target audience in a fashion consistently and reliably, one that we like, we also want to remember that we need the metrics off the back end to justify what we're doing. And if we have that, then we can determine, all right, what programs are actually effective? What's worth putting money into next year? Okay, topic number 3, and this is a fun one, sports. So if you watch sports, you realize the amount of metrics that we gather. Tons and tons. There's stats and numbers, and just everything that we watch has a sidebar full of numbers. There's numbers across the bottom, numbers across the top. And I'm just used to that because I've been watching sports in America my whole life. A friend of mine that I surf with, he's from France, and he will not watch American sports. He's absolutely against it. And I said, what's the problem? You don't, I will not watch football. I will not watch baseball. I won't watch basketball. I said, what do you watch? He said, I watch soccer. He said, you people, you have it all wrong here. All you pay attention to is the numbers. It's not even about the game anymore. It's just about the numbers. I said, what, Xavier, what are you talking about? And then he sent me a link to this video, and it kind of put it all in perspective, because sadly, it's somewhat true. So it's very funny. I'm going to share this with you, and then it frames up my next slide.
You guys love your sports out here. I've never seen more focus put on sports anywhere else in the world. Americans love their sports back to front. You analyze them, you worship them, you watch the game before the game, you watch the game after the game. You talk about what might happen in the game, you talk about what's happening in the game, and then you talk about what happened in the game and what could have and might have but didn't happen in the game. It's just the craziest thing I've seen in my life. It's all about statistics. Have you seen sports in America? Non-stop. Guys just come out there. There's no time for smiles or anything. Just come out. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to it. It's the 2012 Miami Heat up against the OKC. This is the greatest final we've been waiting for in the NBA Finals. LeBron James leading his team out here, averaging 30 points, double-double every single game, 10 points per game, just in assists alone. This man is just something else. 90% from the free throw line. He's just gone in. He's statistically gotten better. His team coming in with more. Chris Bosh coming in with more assists. Really doing well in the last game. Just like, wow. Numbers, stats. You guys know everything, every stat. Well, I mean, he's got 4 out of 5, and I mean, if you look at that statistic alone, it looks like he should be getting forward. He should be, and then it's just crazy. You know everything. You need to flip that around. You need to forget the statistics in the economy. Just relax in your sports. Have fun. That's the sports I watch. Is relax, like soccer. I'm a huge fan of soccer. You know, yeah. Oh, there's some fans here. I love soccer. It's chilled. You hear it in the commentators when a game is being played. There's no statistics at all. Game starts off, the whistle blows, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this majestic match. It's Spain playing against Germany. Oh, and what a wonderful day it is. Look at the crowd, really excited. Oh, and the atmosphere is amazing. Wonderful weather, and the guys are just like, oh yeah, John, you can feel it. The players look great. It's wonderful. What do you think is going to happen today, Martin? Oh, nobody knows.
Okay, that put it all in perspective, and he's absolutely right. That's why he won't watch sports in America. So it really tees up the next slide, and it's true. So this is a project that we're working on with an MLB team who actually calls Chicago home, but I'll leave them nameless. And there is so much information collected right now by Major League Baseball. This slide represents a portion of what they call gumbo data. And the major leagues have a tracking system in that can track things, and I've highlighted some of my favorites. So speed in miles per hour of the ball at 50 feet in front of home plate. Speed in miles per hour of the ball as it crosses the front edge of home plate. Ball acceleration on the Y and Z axis. Horizontal and vertical movement of the ball in inches. Horizontal position in feet of the ball as it crosses the front axis of home plate. It keeps going. Coordinate location of the ball at the point it was released from the pitcher's hand on the X, Y, and Z axis. So where in space was that ball when the pitcher actually let go of it? Maximum distance that the pitch separates from the straight line between the start and the end of the pitch. So how much arc was there? All of this is measured, and this is only about a third of the information. And I'm privy to this because of the team that we're working with. When we talked about the infrastructure upgrade, the technology upgrade we're putting in, they said, yeah, we'd like to incorporate all of this. So this particular group is responsible for the in-game entertainment. So when you go to watch a baseball game, everything that you see up on the big screen, they're responsible for all that content. So it's a really, sports is a really quick turnaround world. They get clips in, as soon as something happens, they're cutting it together, they make a little reel, and by the end of the inning, they've got a hot package that's up there, and it's the hottest clips that just happened in the last 12 minutes, okay? In order to track that and find it, they need to quickly search through all of the stuff that they're getting, just like a fire hose. It's coming in so fast. Very quickly, they need to determine what's important on this. Is this a good shot or a bad shot? What do I need to remember? And at the same time, how can I keep this information for future repurposing? Because the next time we play this team, I'm also going to have to create a bunch of packages to put up on the big screen to entertain the people in the stadium. And games are great. I mean, you see a really serious production when you go and watch a game in a stadium. They have to. Because as soon as HD television came out, it changed the game for everybody in in-game entertainment. That was their biggest competition. Before HD television, if you really wanted to see the game, you had to go to the game. Then all of a sudden HD came out and 80-inch televisions came out, and let's face it, you get a pretty good view from home. It's not too bad. The food's pretty good there too. So to compete with that, they had to bump up the level of production. This information that's gathered by MLB just helps them find the content. But the challenge here is there's so much over the top that it becomes a fire hose of data that's handed off to the team. We're having a hard time actually reeling them back in and saying, guys, we're not going to keep all of this. We're going to determine what information is really important and then associate those with the clips to help you find them in the future. So I'm going to play one more video, and this is going to explain the technology behind how they grab it, and this is fascinating. So let's watch this video, and then I'll continue on.
My name is Greg Kane. I'm the Director of Baseball Data for Major League Baseball. Statcast is a combination of radar technology and optical tracking technology that tracks everything for a given play in a given baseball game. The radar technology is very good at tracking the ball, and the optical tracking is very good at tracking the players in a very large space. The two systems kind of hand off to each other so that they can create a complete three-dimensional picture of what's happening for every play.
3, 2, 1, and we're up.
The radar technology is based on technology that tracked missiles and space shuttles as they were launching to see if there was debris falling off. It tracks things that move very fast, very well, with high-level precision. It tracks the ball at about 40,000 hertz, or 40,000 frames a second. Then the optical tracking system tracks at 25 frames per second. That's bumped up to actually 30 so that it can match what's on broadcast.
Stand by, Bo, going to break. We have 2 cameras dedicated to the Statcast.
Pin right slightly. Hold your shot. Yeah, baby.
We can do live metrics and then more in-depth kind of numbers.
How about his arm strength first?
So if you have a home run, within a minute or two, we can turn around the exit velocity, the distance.
Matt here is our operator tonight. He's able to feed a replay to our tape machine.
Exit velocity, right of second, tornado. Ball trail, yes, no?
Yes.
Copy.
We're able to capture that and marry it with other beauty looks of the home run. You also see the corresponding graphic with how far the ball was hit, what speed the ball was hit, what angle the bat was positioned at when the ball was impacted. You're able to break down just what makes these guys so good on the baseball field.
The data that we capture for each game is provided to the clubs the next morning after the game for competition purposes. They have access to the entire data set for all games. It will be a great way for the clubs to detect somebody coming off of injury if they're really back to where they were, if they need a day off. Trying to find the players that are value that are out in the market. People have said that this is the holy grail of Moneyball.
I think we're going to see more and more discoveries, if you will, making decisions on who to sign in part based on the metrics. The Houston Astros figured this out, and they signed a guy by the name of Colin McHugh. Had washed out with the Mets, was not a very good pitcher, but they saw that the spin rate on his curveball was off the charts. And they realized that was a weapon that he wasn't using nearly enough. So based off the spin rate of the curveball, they signed this guy. He's been a great pitcher for them.
And he got him on strikes.
This is a whole new place to go with numbers. We're just really scratching the surface right now. As more data comes in, we'll have better context to explain what these numbers mean and compare player to player and era to era. Did Bob Feller throw faster than Jacob deGrom? Who knows? It's a good argument, but now we can define that. Giancarlo Stanton hits the ball harder than anybody else in baseball. It's crazy.
It'll make the in-game experience much more engaging. You'll be able to understand more context about what these players are doing and really see the skills that they have. The fans will see almost instantaneously whether or not that last play is something that people haven't seen before.
I think it adds to the enjoyment of the game. We all can recognize a good play when we see one, but now Statcast can tell us in numerical terms what made that a great play. I mean, it's like going down the rabbit hole in terms of numbers.
All right, guys, good. All right, see you down here.
So it's like going down the rabbit hole in terms of numbers. Absolutely, because there's so much information. But that gives you an idea of not only the how, but it also talks about the why, the business reason. The clubs are using this information to determine how people are playing and who else is competitive out there that somebody else hasn't actually uncovered. Then the other side of it is the end game that we talked about, where the video teams also want to be able to find this content quickly and associate that based on information that the MLB is gathering. So how does this work for our group? Well, they'll just take an example. We can have a recording of the entire game and use this gumbo information that's created, and every time there's an event, we can have the computer automatically separate that little piece of video, put it down below, and then put the associated information with it. How much time does this save the teams from having to do this manually? Imagine having to watch a 2-hour game, or 3-hour game, sorry, and then trying to find a particular play. What if you could just type in what you were looking for and have it automatically jump to that point on the timeline? Well, by taking the video that we've recorded and then marrying it with this information that's available, this data that we've already collected, we can jump right to it instantly. This is kind of our Google for the content within the game. So it's helping people work smarter. It's giving us quicker access to this content. And the teams are using it metrically as well to help them make better choices. So the next time you see a game and you see all of this funny stuff flying around there and you see the slow-mo of the ball, this is how they're doing it. Let's take another sports example, Callaway Golf. They make golf clubs, right? Plain and simple. How much technology do you think they have? Well, if you ask their global director of IT, he says Callaway is a technology company. We collect data and we use that data instantly. And there's an online interview where he talks about how the customer experience has changed for Callaway. Their customers are walking in and they don't just want to buy clubs off the shelf. They want a custom-built solution specifically around the way they play the game. So Callaway has offered to create these suites where your swing can be analyzed. You can walk in and they'll let you basically walk through everything that you do, swing all the different clubs, and it will record everything that is part of your swing. They will give you an analysis, they'll show you the data instantly, and then say, based on what we see here, this is probably the way you should be, these are the clubs that you should be looking at. And it obviously works, because they're doing more and more and more of this, and they are a gigantic storage user right now. We're talking racks and racks of storage. It looks like an enterprise data center. It's Callaway. But this information is so important to them that they realize going forward, this is how we're going to do it. What if we add in one more thing? Artificial intelligence. This is already out there. You use it every day. When you pull out your phone and you try to get directions from point A to point B, how do you think that happens? There's not somebody doing that work for you. There's a machine using artificial intelligence to figure out point A to point B, let's calculate out what works based on the data we know. Okay, we've all been using this for a long time. Well, we're now starting to use this on the media side as well. So in the practice, we actually have applications now where we can take content that has no information associated with it whatsoever, and we can use machine learning and artificial intelligence to gather relevant information about that clip to help us find it. So in this particular case, there's a picture in the upper left. You may not be able to see it, but what it's showing is text on a page. And the computer has actually looked at that text, discerned what it is, and turned it into a searchable file. Basically analyzed the words that were printed on a photo and turned it into searchable text. And the same thing can happen with dialogue. We have a video clip that has someone talking. We can run that through artificial intelligence and create a script right from that. Your iPhones do it right now. If you look at your voicemail, a lot of them are already transcribed as soon as you click on them, and it gives you some idea of what your phone thinks was said in that voicemail. It's just part of how we're doing it. Again, let's make the experience easier. Let's gather as much information that we can, pass it on, and allow the user to consume it in a better fashion. This is an interesting example where there's no information whatsoever about the clip. There's no text, there's no logos, there's no faces, there's nothing like that. But what if I was able to click on a button, analyze, and coming off the back end, it could pull things like water park, amusement, slide, things that the computer pulled out of it and automatically associated with this content. Would that help you find your content in the future? Absolutely. How much time does it save you from going through and tagging things? Well, pretty significant, because all I had to click on was analyze, and I can do that in a whole batch of clips. This technology is out there right now. We have customers that are using this. It's 2018 technology, but it exists right now. You put your content in, click on it, say analyze, and it will automatically gather the information it believes. You can set thresholds to say, I only want the feedback that you believe is 90 or 95% accurate. Everything else, just let it go. Because otherwise, obviously, you just get a mountain of information, and it's probably more than you want to manage. So you try and limit the amount of information that you gather, put it together in a useful fashion, and enable you to get to your content quicker. So the takeaway is this technology is out there. Everything I showed you today exists. All of the retail products that are there to help you walk through stores, find out what you're doing, navigate through and pay attention to what actually happens in your environment. The sporting side of things, all of that is there. Those are based on projects that we're actually doing. Embrace the technology that's out there and realize that it's all about bettering the experience. That's why it's there. Make the experience better for the customer, work on your operational efficiencies, utilize the technology that's there. That's all I have. Thank you.